Excellent. Hello. Thank you all for coming. This is a panel, as you can see, Breaking Barriers, Shaping Worlds, Dismantling Stereotypes in Gaming Culture. On this panel of 5 amazing people, well, 4 and me, we've got 94 years of games experience collectively together. So some of them know a little bit about what they're talking about, and then there's me. But the first thing I want everyone to do is introduce themselves. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Charlie Harbord. I'm Director of Partnerships from Global Game Jam.
Oh, yeah.
And I started out 20 years ago doing localization in China for Chinese and Mandarin. And that's me. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Patty Toledo. I'm the Chief Partnerships Officer from PlaySense. I started 32 years ago, although I still look 20, but hey. And I started working with music and theater and films, and then moved to games about 15 years ago. And yeah, that's pretty much me.
Right. Thank you. My name is Sheree Carlson. I work as Partnerships Manager at Global Top Round. I started, actually, I think I'm the youngest in the industry on this table.
I wonder if that's
Just a little baby.
Yeah, I started actually 2020 in March, so imagine how much travel I did back then. I used to work for the Swedish government, building the game industry in my own hometown, together with neighboring cities. So that's how I started. So I basically managing government contacts. And then they asked me if I wanted to do that globally. And I was like, obviously, yes. So yeah, that's why I'm here now.
Hey everyone, I'm Reese Wright. My pronouns are they, them. I am a senior producer for Devolver Digital, and I'm also the co-founder of a group called SavePoint Industry Gathering, which is a networking community for people of underrepresented genders who work in the games industry. I've been kicking around games for 18 years now, and originally started as a kind of, can I do this? Is that really a job? Still waiting for that real job to come along, and enjoying it immensely somehow on the way.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Hi ladies. Thank you for having me first of all. So my name is Kathleen Evers. I'm a VP of EMEA at Pingle Game Studio. It's a studio based in Ukraine, and our expertise is co-development, outsourcing, and everything when it comes to creating a game. So I've been in the games industry for 20 years now, and most of the time on the biz dev side. So that's me a bit in a nutshell.
Okay. And also, you're all very lucky because you've got 2 Scottish people on one panel in another country, and that never ever happens, so you're welcome.
I'm pretty sure it's a world first.
It is a world first. But, so obviously there's a lot of years that we have in industry. How was it when you started in terms of bias, in terms of stereotypes?
I can take that.
Yeah?
Especially on the biz dev side. It's actually not a very common thing for a woman. So I remember one of the first shows that I did in Paris, I was on the show floor with Christelle Chandavoine, who is also biz dev at Quantic Dream. And we were literally the only 2 women on the show floor. And yeah, it was a bit hard. It's not very easy to be a woman in the biz dev side.
And how did that sort of display itself? So can you give an example of one of the difficulties that you might have faced that maybe someone who is not a woman might have faced?
Yeah, so like remarks as, yeah, you're too soft to do this job. Yeah, you're too kind. You're too gentle. That kind of stuff, right? You're not tough enough.
Things that have never been said about me. Patty, what's your take?
I started in music, and in music the bias is not only very strong to this day, but it's very different as well. Women are supposed either to be the talent on stage, with very skimpy clothes and showing off, or they are supposed to be the groupies backstage. It's hardly ever they are in the production or calling the shots. So it was weird at times to try to explain to people that I was doing a job and that wasn't there for any sexual favors. So the funny part is that when I moved to games, I actually thought games were very open and very unbiased in comparison, because I think everything comes from the point of view that you're used to. And I was used to a very chauvinistic environment and to be fighting all the time. Like, literally, I had to be one of the boys all the time. So when it came to games, I didn't feel as much, I didn't feel the same way as other people felt, right?
No, I get that, because I went from localization to academia, where I was a researcher and doing a PhD in teaching. And please, if you're at university, don't take this as an offense, but academia was way more misogynistic, and you had to fight a lot harder. So when you move into industry and you feel like, oh my God, it's going to be this whole man pit, and it's really not. It was kind of a bit of a change for me. But what's your experience, Reese?
When I started with Sega, I was quite lucky. The cohort that I came into with the people I was working with was very varied. We had a bunch of LGBT folks. The person that hired me was a lovely Japanese man who was gay, and I had like a really lovely group of people. It wasn't until a little later that I kind of started going out into the world and exploring and realizing, oh, I'm not like the other people. And I think the thing that brought it to me into so much into focus was my first E3, where I was showcasing a game that I had been working on for about half a year, and very proudly being like, here I am showing something off that I've been working on for a while, and getting the folks from Destructoid came along. We're like, oh, can we get a photo of you by the booth? And I'm like, of course, yeah. There's me throwing up the horns and happily showing off my game. And it's not until after the pictures came out that I found out I was put in a booth babe gallery.
Oh, what a treat!
And I'm, oh, okay, so that's how I'm seen, right? That's different to how I was thinking of myself. And it was weird. It was weird to realize that was your place, and that made me angry. And I'm like, that's never going to be my place going forward. So I was like, I'm good at what I do, and I love the stuff that I work on, and I'm not going to be allowed to be minimalized like that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I once had someone try to teach me how to use Microsoft Teams because I'm a girl.
Wow.
Sherry, so you're in the government side, which is a totally different kettle of fish. What was it like when you started there as female?
So I started with I say this with love. I started off as a suit, right? A representative for the game industry in the north of Sweden, in my hometown, with 2 game studios, which meant I had a lot of power. Well, I wouldn't say power, but I had a lot of impact. One of the studios were female-led. The other one died eventually during COVID. I felt like I had a lot of impact to do. I never felt outside of the game industry because literally there were 2 game studios there. I was kind of aware of what it could have been. I've seen the tech scene. I've seen other ways. I've seen engineers. I've been in that scene a little bit. I was kind of aware, so I was trying to stay as diplomatic as possible because, I started off as a suit myself. But I am also unapologetically I belong there.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good and a bad thing in a way. A good thing is that people kind of like, yeah, she's there. A bad thing is that maybe I'm taking too much space for others, but then again, I use that space to invite other women or non-men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's important. And when we're talking about the stereotypes and the barriers, we're not just talking male, female. We're talking gender identity, sexuality, neurodivergency, disability, and many, many more aspects that go into being representative within a culture, within a game, within the gaming industry, and the barriers that forces. Like, 2 of us are from the same country, but the rest of you are from different countries. And does that impact more than being female? Have you found any?
I can start. I definitely think so. Coming from Sweden, I think we are thriving to be more equal, whatever that means. We're trying to be more inclusive and so on, and it's difficult, but at least we're trying. I've as of this year, I've been based in Bangkok since January, and it's definitely different. Sometimes it's totally like two different worlds. And all of us have been traveling a lot to different areas, and you all know that is very different.
Yeah.
But I would say it impacted me positively. I feel more welcomed, or at least they don't say that straight to my face, like, why are you here? Which sometimes is good because I'm running away before I can ask me that.
So anyone else?
I think location has a lot to do with it. I've worked in games in America and Japan and in the UK, and there's definitely a sort of slightly different feel as to walking into a boardroom as to whether you feel like you're an alien or you're being accepted. I also tend to find outside of location, there's also a big difference between the indie space and the AAA space as well. The indie space has a lot more people on the fringes that are in it, so there's no feeling. I've never felt uncomfortable around indies ever. There have been moments with AAA people. I'm just like, ooh, I shouldn't have walked in here. But yeah, I think it varies on that. It can vary on the different industry, part of the industry. I think there's developers are very different to artists, very different to biz dev rooms as well. It can, there's definitely a lot more acceptance in some areas.
Absolutely. I mean, the indie space can generally pivot faster, is generally more open, more welcoming, and is open to change a lot more. And a lot of people that are underrepresented are starting indie studios, so they already have that inbuilt sort of welcoming ecosystem. But you, Kathleen?
Again, the question was?
So when we're talking about barriers and stereotypes, what has that affected you in terms beyond just being female?
I think it has made me more tolerant. I think tolerance and accepting the other person is very important where we stand. I think that if you are not open or at least welcoming other people to your heart, then in any industry, by the way, it's going to be very complicated for you. So that is why I see myself more as a giver, and people come spontaneously towards me. And also, we were just chatting with Sherry just before you came on stage that it's so important to have one near you by your side whenever you're in a conference or wherever, because we all have these experiences where in whatever country you had to have surgery or go to a hospital, and being in that case open to receiving actually the support of someone that you barely know, just met a couple of days ago, is very important. And that is where acceptance, tolerance, and love comes into our positions as well. No matter what your level is, if you're no matter what your branch is, it's important to all of us. I think that those barriers need to be broken down as much as we can, and every little bit helps in that case.
Okay, so that's a really nice segue to my next question. How can we break the barriers? But no, Patty first.
I didn't answer the last one. Although I agree with everybody, I am actually the weird one. I'm living
on this panel.
In general, in life. I lived in 14 different countries, and I worked in all the countries, and I'm really sorry, my earrings are hitting against the microphone the whole time. I never felt anything. I think mostly because I'm so used to kick the door in anywhere I go and just be myself, that I never felt that any place I was more or less accepted. I made myself accepted anywhere that I went. I never felt that people would want or not want. I never asked them. I didn't care. They had to work with me, and I would just go and do the best that I can at all times. So for me, I usually say I'm the weird one because I don't see gender or nationality or age. I see competence, I
Yeah.
see hard work, and I see dedication. Everything else is not important at all.
Yeah.
And thank you for that. I just want to add in, and I understand totally, and sometimes I feel like that too. And that's why it's so important for us, right, who actually feel like that most of the time, to invite the people that are not feeling like that. I have plenty of competent friends who are just so shy, and they're way better than me at so many things. And the only thing that I can do is basically just lift them up, or at least open the door for them, right? And that's how I see it. It's not about just gender, right? Or just
Or
it's,
any
it's
of
about,
the-
exactly.
yeah.
It's about inclusivity, because we missed out so much, like business-wise.
Yeah.
We miss out so much if we're not inclusive enough.
Yeah. That's
And,
absolutely true.
it's bad for business. If that's my underlying.
Oh, but that's the whole point is you can lead by example. Instead of going and talking
Yeah.
about gender or diversity or inclusion, is showing the companies that being diverse is going to be good for them, that
Yes.
being inclusive is going to change their business.
Yes.
They understand numbers.
Exactly.
So if you show the numbers, then you don't actually need to preach anymore.
Yep.
Okay, so how do we break the barriers?
By exactly that, like lead by example, open the doors, show that, like if you're C-level, all they understand is KPIs and return of investment, show that being inclusive and diverse is gonna help KPIs and return of investment. Talk the language that they can understand. I think one thing that we are doing wrong in the industry is that we are pushing the narrative of we are women in games, accept, no, we are people in games,
Yeah.
and we are competent people in games, and that's what we should be, all of us, like
No,
equally.
absolutely. And you shouldn't hire someone just because they're a white female and that like ticks a quota, or someone of color or someone from whatever. It should be you're hiring that person because they are that best person for that job.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to add, we have an obligation of allowing people from cultures and from backgrounds that have difficulty to access knowledge, to allow them to access knowledge. They are equally intelligent, they are equally capable, they might just not have the same opportunities
Yeah.
that we have. That's why I always tell people, if you are in a privileged situation where you can teach others, give mentorship, talk to people, reach out, you would be surprised how many amazing people you can meet, and it's going to make you a better person and a better professional, and it's going to allow these people to join the industry as well.
Okay, so Kathleen, because it was your thing that you brought up.
So in France, they would say, go on a strike. Because we're very good at that.
That wouldn't work
Very,
in the
very
industry.
good. Watch out next year during the Olympics, it's going to be a mess. But how we can break it down and break down the barriers in our industry is by spreading the word also. And it starts early. I'm very happy to see that there's so many school kids here around. That is where we need to start also, right? The youngsters that are coming up, that are following up our generation, our future customers, well, they already
Our
are.
future game creators.
They already are.
Exactly.
That is where it starts. That is where we have to say, okay, you want to develop games? Go for it. Why not? Because you're a girl? Certainly not. I mean, that is where it starts, and then continue that work and continuing mentoring people, supporting them, guide them
Yeah.
towards what can be their future career. And I think that is one of the most important things. There where we start, the young ones.
Reese.
I think all of this absolutely correct. I think the other big thing is that we need to be visible. We need to be shown that we are competent in things other than talking about gender issues in the games industry. We need to be, articles and remembered in, 100 greatest developer lists and things like that, right? There are so many amazing people of all different underrepresented groups who are just kind of being ignored. And the bonus for uplifting those voices is showing that it's a place where kids can go to. They'll look at us as being like, oh, that's actually a place that's inclusive for people like myself. So that brings more people in. It also makes the people who are currently in the industry feel safer, like they are included and they're loved and they're a part of this. And it solves so many problems on both sides of the funnel, because we've got obviously the problem of people leaving the industry because they're not feeling as included in everything here. And that's why when we started SavePoint, was to give people a safe space to talk to their peers and feel like their voices aren't being drowned out. Would love for it to not have to exist, but we're there until we're at a point where people can just be themselves. It's feels a little bit like putting the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff, but
just in case.
But for now, these support systems are there to try and help until we can get more inclusivity everywhere.
Especially at conferences, for example, some of the events already have implemented this idea of having one person that one can go to if if someone needs to talk, if something happens, if there's sexual harassment, if there's someone not feeling safe, as you said, having that person, one person in a show is also very important. I think it's we're starting to seeing this happening more and more often, which is really good, because it not all people like us can go on stage. Like you said, so many shy people as well, but they are also thrown under the bus sometimes and need that support where they can go to one person and talk in confidence about what happened without making like a fuss about it. But that's completely something that is very simple to put in place. It's not expensive, and it's a good thing to have on a conference.
Oh, absolutely. So I also work as a cultural sensitivity expert, and that's just like you said with SavePoint. That's a job that ideally I would like not to need at all.
Well, right.
Because we shouldn't have to have someone come in and go, actually, no, that's really offensive to this whole group of people. But the indigenous groups that I work with, saying that you want to be a game designer is the same as saying, I want to be an astronaut. Like, it's this fanciful job. And so giving the opportunity to learn the skills, to realize that actually, whatever skills you have, there's a space for you in industry. Like, we can be the most inclusive industry, and it doesn't matter where you're from or who you identify as or any of the other stuff. It's like, what are your skills, and how can we help you with that?
Yeah, I would say there's some good programs in the UK, and I hope there's similar programs worldwide, like STEM ambassadors and the video game ambassadors, where you can go into schools and put a face to the industry and be like, look, people like you are here. And it's so much easier talking to kids than talking to a room full of experts. Way less nerve-wracking, so definitely sign up for it. And then, it's great to be able to show folks, it doesn't matter what your skill set is, as you say, like being able to say, look, we've got lawyers, right, that work in the games industry. You can still make your parents happy by being a lawyer and also work in games. Win-win.
Absolutely.
I think that's look for ways you can help. Look for these programs, look for ambassadorships, mentorships, things that you can get in on, because it makes a huge difference being able to help out.
It does, and it's a really corny saying, but if you're a mentor and you've got a mentee, often you can end up learning as much from them.
Of course.
Because they might be a little younger and more hip and down with the lingo, like the kids talk and that. But yeah, you can learn a lot from them, and that's really beneficial for you as well. But it's that outreach that's really important.
I would add that if you want to join this industry, if you are young and you're thinking, you're looking here, you came to play the games and you decide that you want to join the industry, bear in mind that it all depends on you. The only barrier you have is yourself. A lot of people tend to say like, oh, it's impossible to get in the games industry. Nothing is. You can get anywhere you want. The only difference is you have to show that not only you are able to get the talent, which Charlie already said, anyone is, you can learn the skills, you can become the best that you can, but you have to have a sense of yourself that allows you to like talk to people and show confidence that they will give you a chance.
And
So-
Sherry, if you're very, very quick, our time's up, but what's your takeaway?
Right. No. How do we start? This is a big question. How do you start? How do you eat an elephant? One piece at a time, right?
Yeah. Or I'm vegetarian, so no.
Oh,
How do you eat a mountain?
Well, yeah, thank you very much, wonderful
you.
people. Thank you very much for being so intelligent to come and watch our talk. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.